Well, you are live with Mizz Moodie, and I know it's been a long time. I hope y'all didn't miss me too much. But tonight's topic is the Zimmerman verdict part two. I have my guest Jamell. Oh wait, I think I still have him on mute. Jamell Henderson. Jamell, are you with me?
Hello, I'm here.
Alrighty then. Now, for all of those who have tuned in the first time, you will remember that Jamel and I both agreed that if the African community was still rising up and marching and protesting 100 days after the verdict, it would be a beautiful thing. But we were both very doubtful that that would still be going on 100 days later. And here we are over 100 days later, and now we are here to discuss if we genuinely made any progress. So, Jamel, what are you thinking? You know, do you think we really did anything important in the last 100 days?
First off, I wanna thank you for allowing me to be a part of the show once again. I'm always a big support of what you're doing, so I definitely commend you on the job that you're doing.
Thank you very much.
It really it really pains my heart to say what I'm about to say, and that is nothing has changed. I've said this. We had this conversation, I believe, July 16th, if I'm not mistaken. And here we are now. Over 100 days later, and nothing has changed. Now, people could say, oh, well, a lot has happened since then. The government shut down and, all of these other events that's been happening throughout, American history and politics. But at the same time, there's no excuse. I've said this before, and it just proves exactly what I felt. That the problem that we have is that we rally behind the cause right away, but once it's done, that's it. There is no follow-up. There is no commitment. There is no consistency. And I'm not saying, no, don't get me wrong. I am not saying that those who are directly affected, once again, I really want to show my love and gratitude and support to the entire Trayvon Martin family, because I'm sure they're still fighting the good fight. However, unfortunately, is not getting the ammunition that it deserves because people move forward. Now, I was talking, to one of my deans at Brooklyn College, who was like a mentor, and she explained to me like the days of old are no longer present, and it kind of upset me for a bit because it's just like, we as African Americans have gone and struggled through so much. So I don't see why that is an excuse to stop fighting the good fight. Apparently, there's a reason why we must keep going until justice is served. Now, people could say, yes, because George Zimmerman got in trouble again, and this time, obviously they didn't press charges against him or whatever the situation was. But still, it is the principle behind it. The principle is you should keep going because that shows the strength in your community, that gets public attention, that puts demand on your local officials to get involved, to step in, and to see what is going on. Once again, it was all good talk. It felt great. But then it just got quiet. And it just proves the incapability of a community that we have in today's society. And I'm really upset about it.
I definitely have to agree with basically 90% or 100% with what you said, because I kind of feel like people have short attention span these days. And I think a lot of people jump on the bandwagon when something is popular, but do they really feel the cause in their heart? I'm not so sure, because my thing was, you know, when it first happened, everybody had their picture blacked out on Instagram. Everybody, because the celebrities were heavy in it at first, protest over here, protest over there. And then when it fell out of fashion, then that's when people stopped. And it's like, if they really felt it in their hearts, it should still be going on now because, one, nothing has changed, and two, rest assured, it's going to happen again. Because, I mean, the guy got away with it. So now people feel like, well, we could just go ahead and shoot down black men and we'll get away with it because all they're going to do is be mad for 5 minutes. And then it's going to step down. And, like, you know, we're very different from, you know, previous generations. You know, I've mentioned this in previous shows. You know, in the 60s with our grandparents, well, you know, fighting for civil rights, that movement lasted years. That wasn't a couple of weeks of protest and then they sat down. They kept going until change happened. And no generation has done it again since. We just get mad in 5 minutes and then everybody's back to, their personal lives and, just get distracted. And I kind of feel like us as the youth, this is our generation that needs to start handling this because, we're the ones we're the next generation that are going to be, in power next. You're getting into politics, you're gearing yourself to run for office. Like, this is our problem now. So I kind of feel like we definitely need to step it up and do more. So,
Camille, like, that's the answer. That's my conclusion that I came up with. See, if we're going to revitalize and re-energize, because it is not the older ones that's getting affected by it. And one thing we did learn throughout history, yes, we had our parents and our grandparents and our forefathers who came and they fought hard alongside, but it was really the youth and the young adults that really got themselves involved. So while I'm analyzing the entire situation and deeply upset that, okay, this ain't happening or that there's no follow-up, the question I ask is, what can I and what can people like myself do about it? And you see, one of the first things we need to do is rebuild that awareness. And not just the awareness of the fact that Trayvon Martin, unfortunately died because, of a gun violent situation with George Zimmerman. But we need to talk about strengthening our communities as well. You see, because if there was a stronger sense of community, a lot of the things that's happening in our communities now would not be happening. And one of the great things that my mentor told me was that we, as a youth and young adults, are not going to listen to our parents and grandparents like that. The best way we can get through to them is coming out of our own mouths. And we have to be the ones on the forefront this time to let people know and let our community know that we mean business. We need to drill this back into our community's heads. Like, listen, we cannot let a situation like this happen because it is causing a serious threat to our young men and even to our young women. Individuals who are actually trying to do the right thing and those who are out there who are struggling and trying to make things right, but because they're heavily influenced by the dangers and stuff in their community, they're obviously distracted. We have to be the ones on the front line to tell them what needs to be done, what needs to be changed. Because if we don't do it, then they're not going to listen to anybody. You know what I'm saying? And it's really unfortunate. We need to have that strong base of community because, our parents and our grandparents, they're getting older. So, you still have those who are willing to fight the good fight, but they're not trying to get themselves as involved like they used to. And if we don't have that sense of awareness, and if we don't want to shake things up in our community, then nobody else is going to do it. I'm telling you, if you were to see this in any other demographic, if this was a Jewish person, God forbid, that had gotten caught up in this, they would have kept fighting until they got results. And, it kind of pains my heart that, like, you got these individuals like Al Sharpton, who I much, much respect, who's trying to make a difference, but is not following through. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to follow through and rally. That shows pressure to the political officials. That shows pressure to the community who's not being aware. Because there's no excuse. We can get our communities to be involved and aware of everything that's happening. And we have the technology. We have the capability to do that, but we're once again, just being so lazy. And it's disgusting to see how this is happening.
All right, I got 2 callers waiting, so I'm gonna get to my first caller. I recognize the number, so I hope he doesn't mind me shouting out his government. Greg, you with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Huh?
I'm here.
Okay, so you have any thoughts to share?
Pretty much I kind of agree with what Mel said. You know, when I listen, when I look at the situation as a whole, you know, it kind of reminds me of you know, I'll say like the you know, the 70s in a sense, because you know, during the 60s and, you know, the late 50s, that's when, you know, there were you know, that's when the civil rights movement was at its strongest. And then, you know, obviously in '64, you know, you know, the Civil Rights Act was passed. Now, I say it reminds me a lot of the '70s, only because, to me, I feel like in the '70s, our people, that's when we kind of got a little lost. And I say that because, you know, in the '60s, the majority of our civil rights leaders, you know, we lost them, you know, either through assassination or incarceration. You know, '63, we lost Kennedy. '65, we lost Malcolm X. And in '68, we lost both Robert Kennedy and Martin Luther King. So without leaders, you know, being taken away from us, we just kind of lost it as a community and as a people. So in the '70s, that's when, you know, that's when gangs started forming. You know, the Crips and the Bloods, they formed in the '70s because we didn't have any leaders. And then in the '80s, you know, that's when, you know, we took a more militant approach, you know, with the you know, with the Black Panthers. And then once they, you know, you don't really see or hear anything from them anymore. So, and now we're in this day and age where we really don't have, you know, that leader of the leaders to kind of rally, you know, our people when something goes on. That's pretty much, you know, my opinion on it.
I think you're bringing up a valid point, because I kind of touched on that when the celebrities were down for, like, not that it has to be a celebrity, but I kind of feel like we're missing strong leadership. And I don't necessarily mean Barack Obama, because he has a lot on his plate right now. Not that I'm saying that's okay, but I'm like, he has a lot to do with in Washington. But I'm like, I'd like somebody that can specifically focus, that has the time to focus on, you know, getting us organized and stepping in. I kind of feel like we're missing prominent leaders, and I feel like it's time some of us, you know, step up and do that. I'm going to get to my next caller. Caller with the 0309 number. Don't really recognize the number, but are you with me right now?
I'm here. What's up?
Oh, Shamara, right. I forgot you changed your number. All right, so what are your thoughts?
I agree with a lot of things you guys were saying. Like, I mean, clearly it's, you know, 100 days since the whole verdict went down, and you don't see those crazy statuses on Facebook. Nobody's wearing black hoodies. Nobody's protesting. Nobody's changing their profile picture to black. Like, it's like we just all went back to our regular lives. Like, this is just what happens. It's outrageous, but whatever. Like, we all kind of act like we can't do anything about it. And, like, what some of you guys were saying was, like, you know, it was different, you know, a couple decades ago. I mean, there's so many things that have, you know, relate to that. Like, we're distracted by social media and TV, and we feel like we're comfortable. Like, people just, you know, they didn't have distractions like that. It was just like, we're trying to move forward and progress and get our civil rights, and that's all people concentrated on. There were no distractions, or people didn't feel comfortable, or like that sense that we made it. And I kind of feel like that's one of the biggest things now. Like, I think people just feel like, well, it's not that bad, but it is still that bad. You know, if you can't walk down the street, you can't go to the store and just, you know that you're gonna come safely home. Or if you have a child and you have to worry about them just for no reason, just stepping outside to do something simple, it's like, I don't know. I think, like, our generation really, like you said, also, like, we need to just, you know, get it together and keep fighting, because it's really on us now. to start taking care of these issues. And I also did mention on Facebook before that I saw something where like there was a kid, he was playing music in his car or whatever, and this white guy, like, he got really tight about it, like, oh, turn down your music, and then came at him with a gun and shot him. And like that's something that wasn't really publicized. No, I mean he was injured,
but still, that's
just
crazy.
Like that wasn't publicized, and nobody talks about that, you know. So still happening.
Yeah. Right. This anybody can respond to this because that reminds me of something else I was gonna say about the lady in Florida that fired the warning shots, and she got time for that. Which reminds me of something else because, you know, someone on my Facebook newsfeed actually thought she deserved to go to jail for firing warning shots. And this same person, you know, just seems to be, you know, adamant about this black person about blaming black people for the whole Trayvon Martin thing. You know, and I said this the first show, and I'm saying it again. I kind of feel like we are not united as a people. And I'm like, we're not going to be able to organize and have a movement if we keep pointing fingers at each other saying, oh, well, we act like thugs on the street, or, you know, where we're like, you know, I kind of feel like more upscale black people are kind of looking down at lower scale black people, even though, just to make a note of it, we're kind of all in the same boat because, you know, I was actually looking at an article today about the division of wealth in the country, and we're all basically lower class. Like the money is all sucked up to the top. Like, if you're not crazy rich, that's it. Like, everybody else is pretty much broke. So it's the illusion of upper class and lower class, really. But so anyways, yeah, they're just kind of looking like, you know, like we're not on the same team, or, you know, how we don't know how to act. Granted, there are, I mean, you know, we're not perfect, but like at the same time, instead of pointing the finger at, you know, the people acting up on the street, why don't you reach out to them and help them out and help, like, let them know, like, hey, this is not helping us as a people, instead of running around saying, oh my God, I can't deal with ignorant ratchet niggas and all of this like that. Like, I'm not really down for that. So what do y'all think about that?
Well, first and foremost, I think you're touching on something very, very important. It requires a lot of bravery. You can't be afraid to go out and try to make a difference in your community. Now, obviously, we will have to organize. We will have to come up with plans and strategy to reach out to our community resources, whatever we have, and whatever we don't have, we have to be able to put pressure on our elected officials, whom we elect, to provide us with those things. So that's the first thing. We have to be able to acknowledge and recognize that we have an issue in our community. That's the first thing. The second thing is we need to identify individuals who are just tired of seeing this every time they walk through the streets. You see, there's always that person that just bites their lip or just swallows the bullet because they're fed up. And all they need is a simple push to be like, yes, you know what? I'm down for the cause. And we have to be able to utilize what we have via social media and be able to relay this message, which is one of the things that I actually am preparing to start doing. I'm working with a good friend of mine who lives in Buffalo, who started this, community rally and reducing gun violence by promoting the community to tell if there's a situation going on. Because, you know, even still in our city, this this no snitching rule is still playing a major, major role. And for the safety of our young brothers and sisters and people who's trying to get through, we need to have a responsible and active community. And it takes us to do that. We need to put pressure on our churches to really get involved, because our churches is still the background in the African American community, even though all of a sudden now it's becoming a little corrupted. But they're still the backbone in the community. Thirdly, we cannot stop. The key thing with any type of rally is consistency. You can look at, for example, and maybe people could say agree or disagree, but look at how many people rallied behind the moment the Affordable Care Act began. And people have been fighting day in, day out, raising money to try to stop it. The same type of energy
in the process.
The same type of energy that the American people are doing to try to stop the things, we could be doing the same thing in our communities. There's no time, because all it takes is a handful of people to say, you know what, I'm with you. That way, everybody gets an opportunity, and there's a new voice that's being heard, that's being recognized, and therefore, our elected officials, our community, our resources and individuals will have to pay attention now and be like, you know what? I see a lot of young people and young adults actually standing up for a cause. They want to put an end to the gun violence. They want to have things in their community. And if we don't, these are going to be the people who vote us out, or the one that's going to stir up a lot of trouble. And you got to be able to be confident in what you have, because otherwise you're going to lose. We cannot be afraid. And I think that's our problem. There's many young people out there who's willing to make things happen and move and shape, but they're afraid to do so. And I go by a creed that I said, change begins with one, therefore it begins with me. So anybody that's out there, they gotta be ready. And I guarantee you'll be surprised at the people you rally. That's plain and simple. You can't be afraid to go out there and make a difference. If you're afraid to do that, then you already have lost before the fight even began.
I mean, I kind of hear you, but at the same time, do you think it's 100% fair, or do you think people are just kind of becoming a little bit just all about, I guess, their self? Because, really, people could be spending time going out there and rallying, but they're too busy, which I'm not downing anybody, because I'm guilty of this myself, so I'm not saying I'm pointing fingers. I'm telling you right now I'm guilty of this myself, but everybody's out there on Instagram posting pictures of, this is the party I was turned up at last night, or this is the picture of the flowers my boyfriend bought me yesterday. We a power couple. Oh my God, this, that, and the third. I kind of feel like people are too busy imitating celebrities and kind of making it all about them and not really worried about community. And I kind of feel like, even though you said there's not enough of a sense of community. So I am agreeing with something you said. I kind of feel like there's not enough focus on us as a whole, as a group, is more focus on the individual, and I kind of feel like that is dangerous in the African American community.
There's a term in aviation called blood priority, which I think that is probably part of the problem that we have in our community, because it's something that everybody pretty much, well, not everybody, but most of the people in our community pretty much follow this. It's pretty self-explanatory. Basically, in aviation, something won't be done about something unless somebody dies, pretty much. Unless life is lost or there's injury. If something is being done but there's nobody dies and if nothing happens, then it's not a priority, obviously. That's pretty much how how a lot of us live our lives. The rally, the rally will never end. The never-ending rally for one of us, had it been, one of our Trayvon Martin or something, or, a brother or sister or something like that. So, it's, I'm not making any excuses for anybody, but, it's difficult for, for people to not so much join a cause, but stick with and follow the cause if they're not directly affected, which is why, getting back to the, the CARE Act, why so many people, were jumping on that, both in the positive and in the negative, because they saw that was going to, somehow the ripple effects were going to affect them directly. So, it's unfortunate that things are like that, but then that's where, I guess that's when those individuals who, who want to make the difference come in. And then, like Jamell said, getting people to rally.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I guess. Go ahead, Jamell.
No, and there's nothing wrong with that. See, but the problem I have is, if we keep allowing this to happen, we're going to continue to be walked over. Okay? You can even start so basic. Could you imagine if four of us, or four of your close friends, let's say after school, right? And y'all just walk down the street. You obviously know that you got the younger kids who's acting, rowdy and, a little overextended in their behavior. And they get into a fight. A simple fight. Nobody would not step in and be like, hey, what are you doing? Because they are afraid. Now, I'm not saying that you go in and beat them up. But you give them another option, or you show them another way as how we learned when we was growing up, if we ever got into a fight or any situation. Going out to these people, like I said, providing resources, giving people another option. A lot of these people who do the crime is, yes, because they're influenced by gang activity, but also because they have no other options. There's no stuff in our community that's giving us another way out. So they're going to turn to things that are negative. They're going to turn to the things that feel is going to help them to get through. But if we say, you know what, we can provide you with a job, or we can say, you know what, we got some connections here. How about we buy you, we got a connection, we can get you a suit or a dress, or that if you come by this church, that this church has a lot of resources that can help you out. If you were to just partner with our strong community resources, we can really, truly make a difference. And, one of the things I've always learned, no matter what, sometimes we got to stop making excuses. There's always a way out every time we go to stuff. And it's like, when is enough is enough. You don't see no other demographic going through what we're dealing with. And it should be at the point where, we should be like, I'm fed up with this. I want to make a difference. And I know that the same clout that I have on Facebook or Instagram, I could do the same thing. If you were to do an example right now, if everybody was to put on their status, I want to make a difference in my respective communities. So those who live in Flatbush, those who live in Soundview, Bronx, those who live in Bed-Stuy, who wants to work with me? I guarantee you will get somebody that says, yes, I'm ready to make a difference. Give it a try. I'll even put it on tonight and tell people, because there's people who's down there who's fed up.
All right, Jamell, I gotta cut you off because I got 30 seconds left. But
sorry.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you, Shamari and Greg, for calling in. Thank you for everybody listening. This will not be the last of me. I have more shows in the works coming down, so stay tuned. I will announce them on my Facebook. But, Jamell, I will be looking for that status about whatever you plan on rallying, because I know this is your area of expertise right now. You're going to be the next Black leader. So thank you for coming on the show again. Thank you, everyone, for listening. And I'd like to thank everyone for their support of my show. And I will be back. Maybe not next week, but I'll be back soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
All right.